Well, who you think you are today is not who you're going to be 6 years from now, 12 years from now, 18 years from now, right? Let's say, inshallah, we live till 80, 85, right? God willing.
Inshallah.
You're going to be 8 different, you've changed 10 times by that. And you should. We have a long life. We have to evolve, right?
Yo, welcome to another episode of Yalla Let's Talk podcast / video. So today we got with us an incredible talent. He's a Sudanese-born Canadian comedian, podcast host, content creator, engineer by day, comedian by night. Give it up to Mr. Abbas.
Woo!
Yeah, woo! We need like some sound effects.
Some fake studio audience. Yo, thanks for having me, man. In the studio run by some Arab boys, the shabab in the background.
Yeah, buddy.
8 cameras. This is beautiful. Beautiful sight, man. I'm happy to be here.
We don't joke around, man.
No, clearly, dude.
We're so happy to have you.
Yeah, man.
So I want us to dive right into this. Yo, you were born in Sudan.
Mm-hmm.
You grew up in Canada.
Uh-huh.
How was it like growing up as a Sudanese-Canadian, my man?
It's interesting, you know, because I came in when I was 6 to Canada. And I think a lot of immigrants, when they come, as kids especially, you don't really want to stick out. So you don't embrace where you're from because that's different. Like on the playground, it's not cool to be African. It's not cool to be different. You're just trying to be like whenever I'd had to talk to my mom growing up or speak Arabic, I would get away from the other kids. I didn't want them to hear me speak Arabic because I was like, oh, then they're going to know I'm different and then life is going to be harder. This is just the mind of a child, right? So it was years of that. And my family came here alone. So it's like there's a Sudani community in London, Ontario, where I grew up. So we touched base. Any immigrant, any fob that comes, they're like, where's our kind? St. Thomas? Okay, we're going St. Thomas, right? Like Calgary? Okay, we're going Calgary. That's how it is, you know? So we went to London, but we didn't come with any cousins. We have 0 uncles here, 0 aunts. You know, we call everyone Ammu and everything like that, but no actual
like
relatives. None are here. So we kind of we're very satellite, whereas a lot of my Palestinian Lebanese friends, their cousins are here, their aunts are here, their uncles are here. They have big things like get together. So we were kind of like an island, which was weird. So I didn't really embrace being Sudani that much. I came and I just was like, oh, I'm black now. Okay. You know what I mean? So now I'm not even thinking about Sudani. I'm trying to be like Tupac. You know what I mean? Because you're not Sudani, you're black. When you come to Canada, you're not Sudani, you're black, right?
I am not who I think I am. It's I am who I think you think I am kind of thing. So like the way that people kind of see you is kind of how you defined yourself. So when you came to Canada, did you find yourself like people saw you as black more than they saw you as Arab? And how does that impact
100%.
how you see yourself?
Off the top, upon arrival, from 6 to 18, black. I'm black. I'm like looking at Tupac. I'm like, okay, I'm black. I got to like figure out my identity within being a black guy, you know what I mean? Beatbox, breakdance, this, that, you know what I mean? Like not even actively trying to get good at these things, just thinking like, oh, this is the marker for me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I did engineering school, and when I went to engineering school, I grew up in London, Ontario, mostly white people. So that's why I was like, okay, I'm black. But then when I went to engineering school, it's mostly like immigrants and fobs and like mostly ethnic people. So suddenly, now I go back to kind of like being Sudani. Now I go back to being African, right? Because the guy next to me is from Tanzania, international student. This guy's from Pakistan, international student. All these guys are Chinese. These guys are Korean. So suddenly, I'm not saying I'm black. Suddenly, I'm Sudani now. Now I'm back to Sudani, right? Now I'm running into Sudanis on campus, and it's interesting. And it was only after I graduated, did engineering for years. You said I do engineering by day. I don't even do engineering. I haven't done engineering in like 5 or 6 years. You know, I did it for 3 years and then left. But when I started comedy is really when I started to be like, okay, I'm Sudani. What does that mean? Let me talk about going back to Sudan, growing up like in London, but going back for the summers. Like I'm growing up in government housing, but when I go to Sudan, I'm like Prince. You know what I mean?
Prince.
Right?
I love it, man.
They go, oh, what Canada, bro? What Canada? أتكلم إنجليزي, what Canada? You know what I mean? Like speak English, Canada boy, right? Like I'm the Prince, but I'm in government housing in London, Ontario. Like I'm poor in London, right? So that dynamic is Very strange.
How does that even like come? Like, how do you then reconcile that? Because then they see you in, like, as royalty, but then you see yourself or not. How do you see
It's
yourself?
very confusing as a kid. It's very confusing. You can't even explain to them what your life is because they're in the villages of Sudan and you're just a novelty to them, right? You're like, oh, okay, English, this. Like, you can't even be like, yo, like, I'm in a shitty neighborhood that I'm embarrassed to even go into. Like my neighborhood, nobody tricks or treats. Like, my neighborhood is the neighborhood everyone skips in Halloween. You know what I mean? Right? They're like, those refugees aren't gonna give out Kit Kats.
I love it.
Bro, my neighborhood, everyone turns the light off during Halloween.
That's so funny.
It's like a power outage.
And how do you feel like just kind of like having that lived experience and then coming to engineering? Like, how has that shaped who you think you are?
Well, engineering is one of those things where it's like it made me who I am today, but it was never me. You know, it's very cliche for Arab parents to push you into engineering medicine. So even when I was a kid, they would answer for me and they kind of sold me on that dream. So even if you asked me what I was going to be when I was 10 years old, I'd be like mechanical engineer. Mechanical engineer.
Baba and Mama just ingrained that, right?
Exactly.
I get it.
Abbas, like other Sudani or other Arabs would come, oh, shufta, what are you going to be when you grow up? And then my dad or mom, muhandis, like, you know what I mean? They answer for you, right? Engineer, right? So I got sold on that, did it. I didn't even vibe with it in school, but I was like, oh, you're not supposed to like school. I was of that mindset, like, no one likes school.
You're going to like it after.
You like it when you get paid, you know?
Yeah.
And then I got paid and I got a place and I got a car and then the novelty wears off and then you have to reconcile the fact that you hate what you do. And then some people just stay in it because they get a mortgage, they get this, they get so locked into, they get so cornered.
Handcuffs.
Cornered.
Yeah.
So it's so difficult to get out of that. Thank God I was able to I managed to get out of it.
Tell us a little more about that. Like, one, when did you realize, like, engineering is not really for me and I have other ambitions? And then two, what made you become a comedian and go down that route?
Okay. So 2 years into engineering, I'm living in Madison Heights, Michigan, Detroit area, the automotive industry. I'm a program manager. At this point, I had a nice BMW lease. I had my own place for 2 years, and all of that didn't matter anymore. For that first year, I was, look, 435, 2-door, 6-speed. Yo, I did it. My own place, I did it. And then, like, the reality is every day you're waking up and you have this feeling when you wake up like, fuck, like you're not doing something you want to do. And if you have a sick car to drive to work with, then it helps a little bit. But after a year and a half, after 2 years, that car means nothing. In fact, the car's a lease. So you're paying a G a month for the car. You're over on your miles, so you can't drive it anywhere. You're broke because you got the lease. So you're screwed. You can't go anywhere. You can't spend money. And you hate what you do. So you're like, what the hell did I do to myself here? So it was about 2 years in that I realized I fucked myself, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know where this airs or whatever the hell, but I screwed myself. I'll let you edit that in. But I screwed myself. And man, I just started reading. I didn't really know what to do. And I just started reading and like career books and this and that. And I just realized that like the one book I read was like, if you're not passionate about what you do, at one point you will hit a wall where you cannot compete.
Damn, what book was that?
The book was called No Rules, No Excuses by a famous Waterloo professor named Larry Smith. No Rules, No Excuses. And it was the first time I read a nonfiction self-help book. Because I thought I was over that before, but I just felt so messed up that I read it. And at that point, I've been watching stand-up my whole life. Because my parents are like, they see kissing on Arthur. I'm watching Arthur, and Arthur's mom kisses his dad before she leaves. And my mom's like, huh? You know what I mean? Like cartoon parents kissing. My mom's like, what is this? What are you, porn? What are you watching, right? So I could...
To them, yeah, it is.
I could get away with stand-up all day because it's just a guy with a microphone. And my mom's English wasn't so good at the time. So growing up, a guy or a girl with a microphone, whatever, let him watch this. What is this? So it doesn't matter, right? There's no kissing, there's no sex, there's no violence, nothing. It's just the guy with the microphone.
Damn, so your parents basically cultivated you to become that comedian you are.
Well, kind of. I have 5 siblings, so it's like middle child, right? It's a story told 1,000 times. You know what I mean? My dad's driving cabs 6 days a week. I don't see him much. He's driving crazy hours. I have to do well in school, have to pray 5 times a day. So outside of the house, I'm just like, they call me Chappelle. Because I would just redo all the Chappelle Show skits at recess.
I love that. I love like how your childhood kind of came into reflecting what you wanted to do afterwards. And what I really liked about what you just said right now is that you, after like a year and a half, 2 years, you're like, this is not for me. And you just felt like this kind of like initiative. You wanted to change the trajectory of your life. And I find it very fascinating that after reading a book, you went to stand-up comedy as kind of like that transition.
Well, this is how lost I was. You ever read a nonfiction book where they go, take out a piece of paper and answer these questions? I actually did that shit, bro. You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
You always skip past that. You're like, I'll do it in my head, right?
Yeah.
I was so lost, I took the paper out, bro.
Yeah.
I wrote. They're like, what do you love? What do you do every day? I was like, I wrote it out. Because our minds, especially as immigrants, the wires were not connected in my head to even think I could do an art, to even think I could make a career out of entertainment. I couldn't even think that. But it was when I wrote on this paper, it's like, what do you love to do? I was like, okay, I like watching stand-up. I love traveling. What do you want to do? I want to take care of my family type of thing. So then once I stepped back from this page, stand-up was the first, because I watched stand-up every day for like 15 years on YouTube. Every day, I'm watching stand-up at work. I'm watching stand-up. I'm that guy. But I just liked stand-up. I can't be a stand-up. Those are born people, special people. I'm an engineer. You know what I mean? Like, this is my thinking. But looking at that paper in that moment made me realize, why can't I do that? How do you do that? Googled it, open mics, and that was the first seed to what is now reality.
I love that, man. I love the fact you ask yourself, like, why not? Because it is. Like, we always see people kind of like after years of cultivating the skill, and then, everyone starts, and you've been doing an incredible job. And you even have a comedy special called Safe Black.
Safe Black.
How did you come up with that name?
Because when you get into comedy, they tell you got to be an actor too. And you got to have a podcast. This is the wisdom when you get in the game. So I got my podcast, The Immigrant Section, and I got into acting. And I started killing it in acting, mostly in commercials, booking a lot. Because I come to find out, I have that face corporations love to use for commercials.
What is that face?
Safe Black, That's when they get a bearded black guy, have him smile for no reason. You know what I mean? Right? Cushion? Black guy? You know what I mean? Like all-state guy, whatever, right? They love to it's all white people behind the camera putting a black and an Asian in front of the camera. Like, yeah. You know what I mean?
Like a check.
Exactly, right? So that's the idea of Safe Black. Like, just talking about how fake it is in the industry for like commercial use, how they use diversity is like this hollow thing. But that's why I came up with the name pretty much.
That's really cool. And have you found that things changed since you started versus now?
Started what?
And like in the industry, do you feel like things have become a little more progressive? Have they decolonized Hollywood a little bit, or is it still kind of the same
well, I've only been acting now 5 years.
Okay.
So I'm actually booking TV movie stuff now. I used to just be commercials because I was like, I wasn't a good actor, right? I didn't know what I was doing. But it's still pretty much the exact same thing where it's like, what's funny though, is that like the wind changes culturally. Yeah. So when Stop Asian Hate happened, I stopped booking because they're like, we need to get Asians. Put Asians on the camera so then people will know we don't hate Asians because it's Stop Asian Hate. When Black Lives Matter happened, bro, I was booking like a motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like whatever the way the wind changes is who they put in front of the camera because the corporations just follow the cultural wind. They're like a sailboat with sails, right? They're like, this way? Okay, we'll go this way, right?
That's a very interesting perspective because like a lot of times, as an actor, like you're trying to put the best audition, but at the same time, there's also like a market, right? And there's these social issues that may take into effect, and then a corporation will be like, yo, let's put somebody else.
Exactly. They have an idea of who they want in mind first. They'll be like this. You'll get a casting call. They'll be like, do an audition for Jerome. We'll take all ethnicities. But it's like they're clearly looking for a black guy, right? Jerome, right? You know what I mean? Or we're looking for Andy Lee. all ethnicities taken. It's like, you're looking for an Asian. Just say it, right? But they all always say, submit all ethnicities. But it's like, you
wonder
can
if
tell
they
by the
can.
character name.
I was like, I wonder if they can even just say like, here's.
And every now and then you get one where they go black male. And you're like, okay, here we go. I can book this one, right? Because a lot of the times it'll be like, Larry, the weird neighbor who's like fat. It's like, why am I auditioning for this? I'm not.
Yeah, I hear you. And what I'm finding interesting as well is like all these different things that are happening takes a toll also on how you also perceive yourself, I would assume, right?
Of course.
Like then how do you then understand like, yo, who is Abbas? Like I know this sounds like a little deep, but like how do you define yourself?
You know, I can't give you a definition of myself, but that's what I'm figuring out and say. That's the beauty of stand-up comedy. I'm pulling that onion away every day. Stand-up is a beautiful thing where you really try to get to the core of yourself to find out your voice. Because once you have your voice, that's like the vehicle for stand-up comedians. So give me any topic. I have my voice. So I can enter that topic in a funny way because I know my voice. You know what I mean? Bill Burr is the angry guy. Chappelle is the introspective guy.
This is brilliant. How did you find that voice? I think
I'm still working on it. I'm only 6-7 years in the game, but they say it takes 10 to 15 years to really find your voice, you know? So I'm still kind of piecing away at exactly who I am, you know what I mean? I'm 30 years old right now, and I don't know that people know exactly who they are at 30, you know? Okay, you slowly figure that stuff out as you get older.
I love that. I love the fact that it's more about, it's always going to be progress, right? No one is ever going to just be fully sure, but you just got to do it. Got to put yourself out there and you figure it out as you go kind of thing.
Well, who you think you are today is not who you're going to be 6 years from now, 12 years from now, 18 years from now, right? Let's say, inshallah, we live till 80, 85, right? God willing.
Inshallah.
You're going to be 8 different, you've changed 10 times by then, and you should. We have a long life. We have to evolve, right?
Absolutely. And different lived experiences.
Exactly. Right? So right now you might be this, and then some tragedy might happen or some beauty may happen. All this thing deviates you in this path of life. Here you're like, I know who I am. Then this happens. You're like, okay, no, this is who I am. Shift. It's always flowing.
So from all your experiences right now, like trying to figure out who you are, understanding what you want to do, like what's one takeaway that, you know, you can tell like anyone who's watching or listening to this right now?
That if you don't love what you do, it's a long life. Take a step in the direction of what you actually like to do. So many people I'm around, so many people come up to me, even when I was like, I started when I was like 2016. And for years, be like, man, I'm like, people my age, like, man, props to you, man. The fact that you did that, man, that's amazing, man. I wish I could. Why can't you? You're 27. You're telling me you've written it off? You're going to work another 30 years in the industry of something you don't care about? Even though it may just take 5 years to do like a career switch, 4 years to get trained, get a new skill, whatever it is. But people are so locked into their lives at such young ages. It doesn't, man, I wish I could be. Why can't you?
Absolutely.
You absolutely can. Man, I love cars, but stop that.
That's a good mindset to have. And I do think like you're right. Like living your life doing something you don't like is just, it's sad in my opinion. But at the same time, like I'm just reflecting as well on myself. Like I went to law school, I became a lawyer. And then after articling, I was in a position where I'm like, yo.
Is that where you get the bar?
Articling, you're right. It's like an apprenticeship. You're like, okay, now I'm a fully licensed lawyer. And I was like thinking about it. I'm like, yo, fuck, I'm miserable. I was like, this is not something I wanted to do. And I actually completely quit the law.
There you go. Look
but
at
then,
this, man. Why are you asking me like you're all surprised that you got the same story, bro?
I get it.
MashaAllah, man, you did it, bro.
Bro, you know, we quit. But I went back.
Oh, yeah?
However,
okay, but still.
6 months after.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
You realize that out there, it's scary out there, bro. You're in the ocean. You're looking for a buoy or something. You swam right back to that
man needs to make money, right? We still got to survive.
Yeah.
But what was different about it is that I realized it wasn't the fact that I hated being a lawyer, as I didn't really like working for a law firm and started my own thing and started doing like other stuff like this. So it's not just that necessarily like a zero-sum game where like you got to just completely switch for everybody. Like sometimes you do, and sometimes you find things that you're more interested in. And I feel like that's kind of like what happened to you, where you found something you're very passionate about and you're very good at it as well. And you have that curiosity to keep learning and growing. And yeah.
For the record, I'll say over the last 3-4 years, I have Googled part-time engineering job 1,000 times, bro. It's not a thing. No one's looking for a part-time engineer. I did program management for 3 years. This is where you like project management, essentially, is what it is. And people don't want a project manager that's like 10, 15 hours a week. You got to be deeply involved in the effort, right? So it's difficult to, in my times of financial need, I'm like, because I have those skills. I was good at my job. People loved working with me. You know what I mean? But I hated it. But now that I've set everything up fully, that I'm acting in TV, acting in commercials, getting on stage almost every night, making content online. If I have the time to do a part-time gig that gives me more financial freedom, I'd be down, because I'm not going to be depressed because I have all these outlets. Before, I had nothing. I had a full-time thing that I didn't like, and I wasn't honest with myself. Whereas now you're honest with yourself, like, oh, I don't like any of that stuff. I'm fully independent. I can do what I want. But hey, you know what? This lawyer stuff is actually a great channel for me in the meantime too. I'm good at it. I built a skill. Why not use it?
I love that, man. And I think, I thank you very much for all your time, homie. Like, this is a good conversation, sweet and right to the point. And I really hope we can continue this conversation. And I think everyone who's listening is going to probably quit their job and start something else. Hopefully more.
Dude, I'm about to go on CBC, The Debaters. I don't know if you know. It's a CBC show. It's called The Debaters.
Yeah.
It's been going on for like decades. Next week, it's like CBC national radio. And my debate is quit your day job. Like, I'm for quit your day job. I'm writing the debate right now.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. It's all comedy, but I'm for it. The other person's against it. So
damn, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but are you genuinely for like everyone quitting their day job?
No. If you're doing a full-time thing you don't care about just for the money, you're wasting this life. You're really wasting this life.
Man.
You're wasting this life. If you chase only money, which I did for a long time, you're like a freaking mouse in a maze just looking for the cheese. You know what I mean? You really got to do something you love. And then in the meantime, be like, this isn't giving me that much. Let me do a side hustle to get some money or whatever the hell it is. But if you're not doing if you don't love what you do, man, you're just wasting this life. You're wasting this life.
Gotta love what you do.
You gotta love
and you do love what you do. Last question.
I love it. I love being here, and know that tomorrow brings something different. Every day brings something different, and that's the best part.
My man, I really appreciate hearing that.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Thank you for having me. Sorry I had to rush it and get out of here, but thank you for having me, man. Appreciate you.
Honestly, bro.
Love the setup, love the whole platform, and I'd love to come back when you'll have me.